ora rā i ngā taringa mātinitini o te motu. Welcome to episode 2 of Rangatahi Kei Runga podcast, coming to you from the thriving metropolis of Māngere. My name is Dawson Marama Whiangai, and I'm one of the hosts of the podcast. Before we get started and I introduce one of our special guests, I'll throw it over to my co-host Joran. Tēnā koe, brother.
Kia ora, Mauri. Yes, back at the Innovation Hub. Shout out to our brother Kane. Looking forward to our kōrero today with our guest. We've already had the pre-NRL lowdown analysis before our podcast here, but I'm looking forward to get into some really cool, experiences that he's going to share with us. Really cool insights. Really super talented dude and super cool dude too that we've talked to. So I'm looking forward to today's kōrero, my bro.
Yeah, same brother. And just before I introduce our guest, I just want to say, thank you, Francis Ledger, for giving up your time. Time is the most valuable currency we have. We spend it every day, but we never get anything back. So, before we get started, bro, I'll throw it over to you to introduce yourself. Tēnā koe, Francis. How are you, brother?
Kia ora, brothers. Good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on this podcast today. Introduce myself. My name is Francis Ledger. 31 years young. That's the new 21, if you didn't know. Born in Australia, brought up in Auckland, New Zealand, and currently living in Auckland, New Zealand as we speak. Got a wife and 3 kids, 10, 7 and 5, who are all out at home today. That's why it gives me the free time to be here with the brothers. So thank you for having me on, boys.
Cheers, brother. So just before we get started, bro, I know your backstory, bro, and to me it's inspirational. But before we get into the deep stuff, bro, just why rugby league, bro? What was it about rugby league that attracted you to the game?
If I'm totally honest about rugby league, my family's rugby league, like the Solomonas. If anyone knows the Solomonas in Richmond and Greyland, that's where all my family's from. So pretty much for me growing up, that's all I was around. So it was a no-brainer for me to play rugby league. My cousins were playing it in the backyard. We had a half court, which we played basketball, and if the ball went out, you had to run it straight to get back into the court. So, I was pretty much brought up around rugby league. That's all I knew. I went to a rugby league school at St. Paul's.
It's not your fault, bro.
So for me, I wouldn't say I fell into it. I pretty much was just brought up around it. So for me, all my uncles and cousins, even some of my girl cousins today are playing league. So league was in our family, in our blood, you could say.
Shout out to the cousins.
Shout out to the cousins, man. Learned a lot of lessons from running it straight over there.
So just staying on the kaupapa of rugby league, where do you think your love for the game was developed? Over here in New Zealand, or when you're playing in Australia? Or?
My love for the game, I guess, was growing up. I didn't play league at an early age, like most kids, 5 and 6. I got into it about year 7 and 8. And like I said, I was always around league. Watched league on TV. I'd go watch my cousins' games in the weekends. At school, would play, held on the fields in Australia. So my love for rugby league started very young. I didn't get to play the game straight away, but my passion and drive for rugby league was something I knew from a young age. So for me, it was pretty young, which I fell in love with the game. If you could say that's all I knew.
Oh, nice. And for those who don't know, he went to St. Paul's. They're not bad at rugby league. Coming to you from a perspective, did you have a choice of what high school you went to? Was it automatic St. Paul's is where you wanted to be?
So that's a funny story. So I went to Quickfire Intermediate, which was down the road from where we were staying in Ross School. And one of our teachers there, his dad was the first 13 coach at St. Paul's. So shout out to Mr. Hughes, Glenn Hughes. Thank you for looking out for us. There was 5 of us from school at the time. Myself, another one who's made it, Manuma'u. St. Paul's, his older brother, and there was 2 others that got the opportunity to go to St. Paul's. But when I took my scholarship home, so my mum's younger brother went to St. Paul's and a couple of my cousins had gone there, but most of our family went to Mags. And I told my mum, look, Mum, I got a scholarship to go to St. Paul's. She said, you're not going there, son.
Well, she's a very smart lady.
Wow.
She says, you're definitely not going there. So what a lot of people don't know is when I was third form and fourth form, start of fourth form, I went to Mags. Only because my mum wouldn't let me go to St. Paul's. So thank you to my mum for keeping me there. But when she had passed away, I went and told a little lie to my grandparents, because my grandparents are looking after me at the time. I said, oh, Mags is a racist school. They don't like us Islanders. And they were like, oh, so where do you want to go? And I knew I had the scholarship, so I said to them, I got the scholarship that I had from intermediate. To go to St. Paul's, and they said, oh yeah, okay, if you want to go there, you can go there. And that's my journey of going to St. Paul's. I told a little lie to my grandparents after my mum had passed away, and ended up at St. Paul's College. So for the rest of my years.
Nice. And so, for those who don't know, St. Paul's is actually probably one of the best rugby league schools in New Zealand. Even though it pains me to say that.
Probably one. They are the best.
They are the best. They've won the most national championships, and so they have a good breed of players that come through there, like a long list of players.
I'll even say, coming, so I went to school in Hamilton, and even we knew of the legacy of St. Paul's. I mean, even going back to the Stacey Jones, Wagana family era. I mean, and then so on and so forth. So even across the country, we definitely knew St. Paul's were. Who are Custon again?
That's what I asked.
We knew Custon as well. We knew Custon.
That's what I asked myself.
What about 2003? So just knowing that the rich history that St. Paul's brings, what is it about the school that you think enables them to keep producing the players, the caliber of players that they're producing?
For me personally, I think a lot of people get this misconception about St. Paul's being a massive school. What they don't know is when I was at St. Paul's, there was about 300 students. So a rule for St. Paul's is if you play first 13 and you don't play for a club in the weekend rugby league, you have to play first 15. So they try to get students to fill in multiple sports, just because there's not enough students to go around to have for sports teams. So I think first and foremost, I think the brotherhood that every school has their brotherhood, but with St. Paul's being so small, like every 7th former will know every Form 1 student, because it's intermediate and high school, college, the school's so small, there's like 2 of every year. So and because you're so small and the school's so small, everyone runs past each other, runs into each other, so everyone sort of knows each other, especially from Polyfest and stuff, when you got the intermediate kids in the Polyfest with these 7th formers, and you're actually performing together, so you build this brotherhood, and you get to know everyone in the school pretty much, where compared to bigger schools, the 7th formers don't know who the Form 3 people are, and vice versa. So I think for us, being a small school has its advantages, has its disadvantages as well when we got to play multiple sports. But I think in the sense of building a culture, building a brotherhood there, it's a lot easier being so small and tight knit. So come to sports, we all know each other, and we all know where we've come from. We all know each other's backgrounds and stuff. So just like playing with your friends, I guess.
It's almost like a whānau feel there, like a big family feel.
100%.
And so, living off the back of, when was the first rep team you made? How old were you when you first made a rep team?
Oh, I don't know if we can class Pearl as a rep team, because if you were Samoan, you basically got picked. But my first rep team that I can remember was Akarana, our under-16s team. That was a bit of a story too. We had trials and whatnot for this team, and I had made it into where we go to camp. So they pick, I think, 20-something players, and you all go to a camp, and you have a little camp away with each other and get to learn structure and whatnot. I had made it to that camp, and I didn't turn up to that camp. I had chosen to go to Waiheke, so they have a touch tournament once a year in Waiheke. And all my boys, when I say boys, my brothers, close friends, we all had said we're going to go to this tournament. It so happened to fall on the same day as this camp. So I was looking, do I go to this camp and get thrashed, or do I go have fun with the boys at this touch tournament? So I ended up going to this touch tournament, and ended up getting this. I ended up getting kicked out of the team, so to speak. And if it wasn't for a couple of players, coaching staff that to this day I thank for my rugby league career, I don't think I would have ended up playing in that team. I ended up playing in that team, long story short. I ended up playing in that team because of a couple of the coaching staff had believed in me and had spoken to the coach and gave me the opportunity to play. So from then on, I think that's when I started making rep teams. So under 16s was my first rep team.
And then from there, what led you to being a part of the Junior Warriors?
So my last year at school, 2006, at St. Paul's, there was a couple of us that had got picked up from first 13, and we had got told to come along and so they had a development back in the day, Warriors development, where basically you'd just go there and train 2 or 3 nights a week. Free cream rice, pretty much. You pretty much got looked after there because they were fresh and you're flogging you anyway. So you'd literally go there before your actual training. So you'd go to Mount Smart, train, and then you'd have the opportunity to go to your own club training. And it was just basically extras, just learning what it was like to be a professional, in that sort of sense, like the fitness and all of that. And then a couple of us got picked up from school, and we were from 2006 to 2007. They didn't have anything, no competition to play in, so you'd basically go back, play for club. It wasn't until 2008 that they said, we're going to start this comp, Toyota Cup, and it was something new for everyone, especially in New Zealand, because Warriors have never had a team to put into an Australian competition. So 2007 we basically just got murdered to prepare for this 2008 season that we were going to be a part of. And like I said, it was foreign to the club, so they didn't know whether to train us real hard or whatever. So shout out to Andrew Suda, Chile. He thrashed us, basically got us ready, and he basically told us from the get-go, we're going to train harder than the NRL, just because we don't know what to expect. So from then, that's how the under 20 started for me. I was part of the development at the time.
And what was that learning experience like going from Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to training harder than NRL? What was that experience like?
So for us being so young and naive to actually what we're getting ourselves into, was mean. You think you pretty much, so you get training gear, you think you're part of this, you're part of the Warriors, right? But it's new for everyone because you're getting all this gear, you're getting you're sponsored by Puma, so your boots, you're getting boxes and boxes of boots, you're getting boxes of runners, you're getting boxes of street shoes to wear, just casual clothes to wear. For us, coming from what we've come from, we're not used to that. Just freebies given. It's still we'll give you something, but you got to pay somewhere along the line. So for us, we just took it in and took it in as it came, and we loved it. Although the trainings were hard, we loved that we were going to be the first team. We were going to be playing in Australia every second week. We were going to get to go to hotels every second week, fly to Australia. Who doesn't like that when you're just come out of school? And for us, we were loving that proposition. We get an opportunity to play in this comp against all the best talent around our age at the time, and you look at our team, we've got quite a lot of good talent in our team, from New Zealand, so we were raring to go and just get amongst it, to be honest.
And so how close do you think you were to playing NRL? Was that all you thought about while you were training?
Well, that was always the end goal. That was always the goal for me. Growing up, I always wanted to play NRL. I had uncles and cousins that played NRL, and I wanted to be an NRL player. That's all I thought about. Going to school, I really only went to school because we had league. We had trainings. Anything else outside of school, besides sports, I just love sports in general. But I just so happened to grow up playing league. Basketball's another one I enjoy. So for me, I just loved sports. So anything to do with sports, I was keen to play. I'd give it a go. I don't care if I was not good at it. I just love sports, and league happens to be one of those sports.
Nice. And then we're going to get into the deep side of sport. And talk to us about your injury, bro. Like, what was that experience like? Because, not everyone comes back from a broken neck. And so, being a young person who had this vision of being an NRL player to having that taken away from you, what was that experience like for you?
The first thing that I can remember was hearing my mum's voice. Because growing up, I was always told by my parents, especially my mum, like, I told you guys off air, like, you got to have a plan B. Like my mum always said, like, make sure you always, these are her exact words, make sure you always have something to fall back onto. But being young and naive, like, that just goes in one ear out the other. Like, I'm a league player, nothing can happen to me. I'm going to play league for the rest of my life. Be successful and, just live off the back of that. But what we don't realise as young kids is we're not indestructible. Like, like one injury can change the course of your life. One injury can basically end your career. I don't know if I could call it a career that I had, but when I got injured and I broke my neck, for me personally, like, mentally it was just like, now what? Like, I've put all my eggs into one basket, and those eggs were in that rugby league basket. Now there's opportunity here, I can't walk again, so how am I supposed to use these eggs going to play rugby league when I basically have been told I won't walk? So mentally, I don't think at that time I thought I was in a bad mental state. I actually, to be honest, I wasn't really in like a dark place. Thanks to like the support that I had. Like I've talked about before, like I have I call him my brother. He's actually one of my closest friends. Growing up, Ards, and he so happened to do his ACL at the time. So, but we were like in hospital, and he was there with me every step of the way. Then I had she's my wife now, and my partner at the time, Charles, with me, and like for me, I always went out. Like, bro, I'd go out clubbing with this like halo thing on. Like, no lies. Like, I wore this big ass hoodie, and that back in the days they had those big jackets and they had the fur on it. Put this big ass hoodie over, and everyone was like, "Why are you wearing that in the club?" And it was all because if I took it off, I had like these this metal work all around my head. For me personally, I just wanted that. Like, I just wanted that feeling of not being left at home to feel sorry for myself. Which I think helped in a massive way. Because I think like if I was left at home, just time to yourself, you can fall into dark places. And I was happy that all my boys, like at the time, especially like my brother, helped me. Like, he never didn't include me in anything he'd done. He was like, let's go. He even broke me out of hospital. Like, the first time I could walk, like Warriors under 20s team was playing that night. And he said, "Oos, I'm gonna come get you, and we'll go to the game." So literally, I had those gowns, and I put a massive jacket on, like 2 jackets on, and he was like, "I'm gonna pick you up," and his missus at the time was gonna walk me out. So, bro, went up to the car, jumped in the car, went to the game, and it was funny because we had a TV, and the nurses were watching the game, and I was in the coach's box, and I was behind the coach, and they could see me, and they were like, "What the hell is going on here?" Got back to the hospital, and they're like, "Did you go somewhere?" And I was like, no. They're like, "Don't lie, we saw you on the TV." So like for me personally, if I didn't have a good like support base, I think I could have fell in some dark places, knowing that that's my opportunity of football like down the drain. So I'm just glad that I had good support base, good people around me, and people that just still included me and didn't treat me any different. So I'm just grateful for like my family, my friends, and anyone that had anything to do with me, because in those times it could have been easy to fall into dark place, get down on myself, start thinking, this is my life is over, all that sort of stuff. So I owe a lot to a lot of people.
Nice. It's good that you talk about support systems, because a lot of our rangatahi these days, there's support systems out there, but they don't know how to access it. And I suppose that's a nice segue into our next segment. Is when was your first involvement with youth, and how did you become a youth support worker?
Growing up, I always wanted to get into like the youth side of things, just because I know how. So for me personally, growing up, I always hung out with older people. Older people always looked out for me. I wouldn't say I didn't like hanging out with my own age group, so to speak, but I always got along with older people. And growing up, I seen like the impact it had on myself and my brother hanging out with older people. You got put into line pretty quick. Like, you know, if you hang around people your own age, like, you can laugh and joke about certain stuff, but when you're hanging out with older people, and any, you know, if you're disrespectful or if you're not, you know, treating people the way, like, they'll pull you in line straight away, just being elderly people. So for me and my brother, like, we pretty much learned pretty quick of how to treat others, how to be respectful around our elderly people, and basically how to behave, really, because if we weren't behaving around these guys, like, you know, they would let us know straight away. So for us it was massive to, like, and that's what I wanted to give to the youth, like, I find that when you talk to someone that's actually been through, like, had experiences, you sort of engage better compared to someone who's like read from a book and trying to explain to these kids, like, they'll pick up that straight away. So I've always, like, wanted to, like, give back to the youth in that sort of sense, and I finally got that opportunity middle of last year, where I got given an opportunity to work for a company called Reconnect and work with the youth, and that was that was a shock, to be honest. Man, like, some of the, so everyone has this conception of what normal is, right? You know, we all, something that's normal to you might not be normal to me, and seeing what some of these kids, like, are brought up around, and what their normal is, man, you can see why, like, you know, like, they are how they are. And I think for me, when I first got into that space, was I learned pretty quickly, like, if you understand the kid's story, or if you find out the kid's story, you understand why they behave like that. They're not born like that. Like, no kid's born like that. Like, you know what I mean? So it's what they're around, it's what their normal is, you know. Like, if I can speak pretty openly, like, some of these kids were, like, around domestic violence, so for them, hitting other people, it's normal, but it's not normal to, like, me, you know what I mean? It's not normal to you, and like, that's just their normal. So when we class these kids as normal, like, their normal is different to my normal and the other next kid, you know. So it's what we class as normal, and I was pretty shocked at some of the stuff that these kids, like, go through and have been through that none of them were over 18.
Some realities there with Rangatahi is that they're inherently born into these situations, and me and also Jordan were talking about you know, intergenerational problems require intergenerational solutions. You know, what is it? Something about what do you think needs to change with our youth to be better, to create better environments? What do you think that change needs to be? It might not be one, might be a combination. But from your experience working with the Rangatahi at Reconnect, what's something that we as a community could do better?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot that needs to be done for the youth. Like, there's so many. I wouldn't put it back on the workers and stuff, but, you know, there's some systems in place that don't benefit or don't work for some of these kids. You know, it's a generic system. You know what I mean? It's a system that's probably created to help a wider range of kids rather than specific type of kids, you know what I mean? And being a Pacific Islander Mauri, we might not like the way these systems, like, these kids might not fit into these systems, so to speak. So, you know, when they're, like, told to do certain stuff they're not accustomed to, you know, what's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna rebel. You're gonna be like, nah, hell no. And or if they're taking you somewhere, you're going, hell no, I'm not going there. Then you start pushing back, so to speak. So there's a lot. If I could pinpoint an answer, man, that'd be life changing. But I think the whole system in general could do with a workover, and maybe specify it for, like, our Pacific Island Māoris, because in looking in the system, it's basically 80 to 90% of Pacific Island Māoris that are in the system. You know, and that's nothing against our people. That's just could have a lot of factors, poverty, you know, like not enough like homelessness, you know, like all sorts of factors chip in to like the way like a kid's brought up, and again, it's not the kid's fault or it's not the parents. Yeah, we can put a little bit of blame on the parents, but you know, they might have been brought up that way too. So you know, like generational. Yeah. So for me, there's a lot that needs to be changed, and I think we should just maybe like specify certain stuff for like certain kids, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, bro. It's like the current systems, they're all like blanket approach. They're not specified to meet the needs.
Yeah.
And you know, I have my own views about the system, but I think you hit on the head, bro. It's too generic, and it's you know, this outcome focus. It's all about I need these 5 done for all these 10 kids. Yeah. Even though they might have different upbringings or different experiences. And, bro, I think that's you hit it right on the head.
And I think too, you touched on it. Like each young person's normal is going to be different.
Yeah.
So how we work with them is going to be different. It has to be customizable, specific, like what you said, to their needs, where they're at. I mean, like you said, 80 to 90%, you know, are our own people.
Yeah, 100%.
And like that's a pretty high number.
Yeah, it is, man.
It's a pretty high number, man. Yeah. No, that's cool, bro.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I suppose the next one, bro, is like you talk about a lot about your family. Like, who are some people that inspired you growing up?
Man,
I've got some custom rules.
Man, I've got like I said off camera, like a lot of people around me have inspired me. Like my grandfather. Yeah. Nice. Like I think just and this is only just recently. Like I've like sort of learned and I've spoken about it on social media, like about our dawn raids. You know, like we speak about the dawn raids, which is not actually taught in New Zealand, but it actually happened in New Zealand.
It happened.
And it was funny because I had spoken to a Palangi person about it, and they were like, why were we learning about some Irish family in Ireland when like this stuff happened in New Zealand and it's not taught in our system?
100.
So for me, like my grandfather, he's always been hard work. My grandparents, like my both on my mum and dad side, the 2 on my dad's side have passed away, but I'm fortunate enough to still have the 2 on my mum's side, which live in Auckland, New Zealand here. My grandfather is one that I've always looked up to. Always been a hard worker. Like even to this day, he's 84, 85, and he's still mowing the lawns. Like
of course he is.
100%. Like, you know, like still does all that sort of stuff. Like they, like for me, like hard work. Like you can't go past hard work. And he's one dude that I've always looked up to. I won't tell him that, but like deep down inside, I've always looked to my grandparents. And why I speak about like the dawn raids is a lot of us, a lot of our generation don't understand the sacrifices that a lot of the older generation had to make. If they knew that like they're only in this country because of their parents sacrificed so much back in the days, and it's not a right for them to be born here. You know what I mean? Like, if they knew what their parents had to go through or their grandparents had to go through during those times, like I think a lot of them would really look at themselves and be like, man, like I feel sorry for you, like, you know, why am I behaving or acting like this? You know what I mean? And that's only just recent, like when I talk about like the dawn raids, because myself has only just like started looking into it just recently, and it was something that I knew about in a whole, but I didn't know like the details into it. Also for me, my mum was massive for me. When I was younger, my parents had split up, and I had the opportunity to go with my mum. She passed away of cancer, but just all the stuff that she done for me growing up was massive for me, and I wouldn't be, like we say, I wouldn't be the person who I am today without her guidance being younger. Especially like a mother trying to bring up a son, you know. Every son needs their dad. My dad was still there, but 24/7 my mum was with me. And you're a lady trying to raise like a boy into a man. You don't know what it's like to be a man because you're a lady, you know what I mean? So I owe a lot to my mum. And then all my like uncles, cousins that are older than me have been massive in my life, in my sporting life, and even just in life experiences. Like a lot of them, I wanted to get to NRL, so I was always asking questions, always like trying to copy what they do, because obviously they got there for a reason. So if I can copy what they done. Hopefully I can fall into that swimming pool as well, of playing NRL. So yeah, my uncles and cousins were massive. If I could speak of people outside of my family, they were friends. You know Robbie Vai? He looked after me and my brother. When I said we hang out with old people, he was one of them. He looked after us. Yeah, he's probably Auckland's biggest pest. And he basically, taught us, took us under his wing when we were younger, and just took us around with him, whether it be going to tag tournaments, whether it be just hanging out at his house, or whether it be going out, sort of showed us the ropes. And we are, me and Ads owe a lot to Rob, because he's pretty much shown us a lot in the sense of being respectful. Even though he's not respectful himself, he's a pest, you know what I mean? He showed us the ways, and even some of the people that he hung out with really took us under and showed us about life.
Nice, bro. I like a lot of Pacific Islanders always look at, and Mauri, when they source inspiration, always comes from fun.
For real.
And I like that, but how you just touched on grandparents, parents, that's similar to me, my inspirations. Might have been different if you'd asked me when I was 18. I probably would have wanted to be NRL like yourself.
100%.
But as we grow older and venture out and we learn more, we realise that our biggest inspirations actually come from within our whānau. Just into the next question, but what are some skills you learned from rugby league that are transferable in terms of your transferable in life, life skills?
Well, I've learned a lot from rugby league. I owe a lot to rugby league, and I've learned a lot of life skills through rugby league. Obviously, hard work. If you're not putting hard work in on the sports field, how do you expect to get the results? Exactly the same in life. If you're not working hard, although they say now you can work smarter, not harder, there's still a little bit of a grind process to it. There's being on time to stuff, if you're not on time in sports, same as falls to in life. Being respectful, if you're not respectful to the game, if you're not respectful to your opposition, it falls back onto you, and that's the same in life. I think a lot of people play the game of rugby league and think you got to use aggression. You got to use aggression and whatnot, but there's a way of being respectful in the sense of being aggressive, and that falls back into life as well. If you're not respectful, how do you expect to get respect back in life? You know what I mean? And this has only come with growing up. Like you said, if you asked me ages ago, I would tell you, man, I learned nothing. I don't know nothing. But as I've gotten older, I've learnt, being coachable. If you're not coachable in life or on the field, how do you expect to learn and grow? That's one thing I always would tell younger kids that are coming through the grades, is if you're not coachable, how do you expect to learn? You don't know everything as a player you are now. If you want to learn and grow, be coachable and ask questions. And that, like I said, it's only just come with life experiences. And if I could tell a little story, when I was away with the Warriors, when they would train, I would be standing with the coaches and just asking questions. Why are you doing that? What's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of that? And I'm just thankful that the coaching staff at the time gave honest answers, and they were happy to talk. For me, I like asking questions, how do I get better, or what can I do here, or how can I make this team better? All those sort of questions. And I think nowadays kids are so talented, they don't actually ask those sort of questions. I don't know, but from what I've seen, the generation nowadays don't understand the process of grind, because everything's given so easy. With technology being, it's not their fault either, with technology being so updated, basically you can get anything from your bed. You can get food delivered to you, hey, you can meet someone from your bed, you know what I mean? You don't have to go out. Where if we put this into life experience, back in the days, if you wanted someone's number, you can't just text them, you gotta go, can I have your number? You know what I mean? And technology wasn't as good back then, but that's why I think the young kids these days, I wouldn't say soft, I'd just say a bit more sheltered, in the sense of
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, back in my days, like back in the days, if you got yelled at, like you took that on board. Nowadays, if you get yelled at, I'm not playing this anymore. I'm off.
Yeah. That's the truth, eh?
Yeah. So I've learned a lot from rugby league that I've adapted to life.
Yeah.
Like I said, punctuality, respect, coachable, all of that sort of stuff that I picked up from rugby league that I try to apply in life.
Yeah. I like how you talk about coachable, bro, because a lot of players understand the word coachable. They don't understand what it actually means. And so from you as a player, bro, like when did you realize that you maybe needed to listen a bit more, like listen to your coaches more, or was that something that was always in your game based on your upbringing?
Yeah, based on my upbringing, I was always like listening to coaches. That was just the person who I was. Like I wouldn't listen off the field to many people, but playing sports, I always made sure I listened to the coach. Because at the end of the day, they're not trying to do anything but better you. Yeah, you know what I mean. Nice. And a lot of people, I think, forget that. And think they know more than the coaches and stuff. But growing up, that's always been in my game. Listening and trying to actually work on what they're telling me. It's hard to take on, like when you think you know it all, it's hard to take on advice from someone. And you think you know it all, and someone comes along and is like, man, if you change this, it would make you better. And you'll be like, nah. Like, being young and naive, it's easy just to be like, nah, I already know that. Like, and I want to do it my way. But like for me, if someone gives you a bit of advice, you can do two things with it. You can either take it on board or get rid of it. You know what I mean? And for me, I liked getting advice because I could apply it if it fits to what I was doing, or like if I knew it made me better, I'll take it on board. And if it didn't, like as long as I heard it, and I sort of have that in the back of my mind. Oh well, like I can work on this, even though I knew I was working on it. Like it still pushed like thoughts to the front of my mind. I wouldn't tell someone, oh, I already know that. Even if I did, I'd just still take it on board because it's always a good reminder.
Nice. And since we're talking about rugby league, bro, like your current role with Sky TV, what was that experience like going through lockdown over there with the NRL boys? Because we've talked about it off camera. But what was that experience like for you being on the inside?
It was awesome. From a work point of view, it was massive. It was good experience because if we were in New Zealand, we would have to wake up, go to the club, get that content. Whereas now we're in Australia and we're in a hotel, we just wake up, walk out the door and content straight away. You know what I mean? So it's easy for us to get content, so to speak. And also, if we needed the players when we were in New Zealand, like it'd be trying to organise their schedule. So we got to fit into their schedule type thing. But now that we're over there, they don't have much to do. So we're basically
free access.
If we needed them, but they were happy to do it because one, it was like something different to their normal schedule, and two, it was probably like a bit of fun. So it was all good for me while I was over there. I loved it. I also got to be a part of like the NRL bubble. I got to train with them a couple of times as well. Got to be around it 24/7. So although I wasn't playing or anything, I sort of got that experience of what it's like to be like an NRL player. And like the behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't see, that the media don't get to cover that we seen firsthand. Was huge. So I enjoyed my time being in the bubble. The hardest thing was being away from family. If we were able to come back for a week and see our family and go back and do it all again, I'll 100% do it again.
Nice.
Man.
And like from being that close to like players and that, like what was the biggest learning experience like that you learned from being on the inside of the NRL bubble?
From a sporting point of view, just how professional you have to be to stay in stay relevant, so to speak, in the sport. If you're not preparing, like just preparation is key. A lot of people forget that preparation starts before the game, way before the game. Like starts from your training. If you're not preparing right during training, how do you expect to perform in the weekend? You know what I mean? People think preparation is just when you wake up on a Saturday and that's your prep before the game. You put on all the hard yards. If we talk about local footy, Tuesday, Thursday, to perform on Saturday. You put in your game plan, you put in what you guys are doing for the week, and then come Saturday should be just the time to have fun. You're playing the sport that you love, that you've trained so hard for the week. And for me, I learned that preparation was key, and just how professional you need to be. When I talk about professionalism in the Warriors camp, you like Adam Blair. A lot of people give him stick, but they don't see like he's the ultimate professional behind the scenes and what he does. He does so many extra stuff because he's a bit older now, but all to benefit him to perform in the weekends.
Nice. And I like how you talk about like preparation, bro, because it brings me to my next question. 2018, bro, bit of a successful year for yourself. 2018 Player of the Year, New Zealand Mauri's captain, New Zealand residents. So just explain that whole coming back to play footy. Like when did you realise that footy is actually a reality for me after your injury? And then what was your whole approach coming back to New Zealand footy and jumping on the pirate gang? What was that whole experience? Talk us through that.
So after breaking my neck, I went to Australia. I didn't get much luck over there too. I ended up doing my ACL twice. One I didn't have to have an operation on, and it was like a little tear, healed, and then the second one I actually had to have an operation on. So I didn't have much luck, and my year I was training for Cup for Ipswich both. I got news that my grandparents were sick, so I made the decision to come home. So when I had come home, I had got a hold of the point shift coach at the time, Zane, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking at coming home. Is there an opportunity that I can come and play at point shift? And I don't care if it's reserves. I just want to play." And he was like, "Yep, there's a spot here if you want to come back and play." So I didn't do a pre-season with Point Chev. I done a pre-season with Ipswich. Basically came at the beginning of the year, like a week out from the comp. So for me to play that year was 2017. Like I was just keen to play. And I had like all my family were there, and I had done like multiple Mad Mondays with Point Chev, and I haven't even played with them. So coming home for me to play at Point Chev, like I was just happy to play and just keen to play. But then come 2018 to have like opportunity to do pre-season. We lost in 2017 to Glenora in the final. So for me, I got that hunger of wanting to win a Fox. Now I can have opportunity to do a whole pre-season with the team I'm actually going to play for. And then I had some goals in place just to get through the season and put my best foot forward. So it happened that we had won the competition that year. Had been up and down with Cup as well. So I had missed a few games for Point Chev, and then played Akarana and got Player of the Year. Played Mauri's and residents the year before Mauri's, and then we had like a paper residents team that year, so we didn't get to play. But for me it was just like I don't play the game for like accolades or whatever. I just play the game because I've always loved the game. Like that's all I know on a Saturday. I have to get up and play. But for me, coming back and playing in New Zealand was different. Like I played Fox before I left New Zealand. I was lucky. I played younger grade when I was younger, and then moved to Australia, come back, and now I sort of like didn't take rugby league for granted after injuries. Knowing that like one injury can like again ruin your career. So every time I play the game now, it's like I make the most of it, and I like I'm grateful to play. Like being older and going through injuries, like I know that rugby league can be taken away. So every time I get to play, like I've always prayed before my games, but I'm always thankful like to play the game of rugby league. So 2018 I really put a lot into it. And just wanted to win. That was my main goal. Like I'm not a good loser. I don't think anyone's a good loser. So I was just keen and just hungry. And I don't know how those other awards came along. They just came. But for me personally, I was just happy that we won as a team for Point Chev and won again for Akarana.
There was two things you said. I think you talked about your mum saying that you needed a plan B, and then you talked about just being grateful to play. And I know one of the questions I always think about for young people too, pursuing just sports, like you were saying, like what does a plan B look like, and what should a young person be thinking about? You know, because we always get put down the sports lane.
100%.
Like what are some things that you think or you feel or you've seen, like the Adam Blairs as such? What do they do off the field to prepare them for life after footy, or what are some things that you've noticed?
Oh, that's a good question. Like I said, my mum always said have a plan B. Back when I was younger, there was no such thing as a plan B in my life, man. Like, I had no plan B. But like I said, with like life experiences and growing up, you start to learn like football's not going to be around forever. You know, like even like the greats, they can't play rugby league forever. They're not playing when they're 50, 60, 70. You know what I mean? So I think that's the first perception that we must get out of our heads, is like league's a forever thing. League's just a vehicle to get you through life if you so happen to be lucky enough to get on that vehicle. And what a lot of people don't see is with these NRL players is they're doing off-field stuff. Like they're studying. I know for a fact that Adam Blair was, Roger was, Ice is, Gerard is, Tohu is. There's quite a few of them that are actually, when they don't have training, they're actually on their laptops, business, sports, PTs. They're finding something for life after footy. Or even if a major injury does happen. So for a young kid, man, like you might hear it all the time from your parents or whatnot. It's real. Like you have to have a plan B. Like if you don't have a plan B, and we'll just say this: if you're going along a road to your goal, and for whatever reason that road ends, what are you gonna do? Like you can't get to that goal. Like the reality is, like you get to the end and there's like ocean, but you got no boat. And swimming is not an option. Like how are you going to get to that goal? So if you have a plan B where, but I can use that as a vehicle, and if it does end, I still got another path I can take. Because the more options you have, the more the more chances in life you have to be successful. If you only have one road and that one road gets blocked, then good luck. You're going to be in the same boat that I was in, and you can go into some dark places unless you have a good support thing. So plan B for me now, never been so clear. Plan B back then, never heard of it. I don't even know what you're talking about, Mum. What are you on about? It's going in one ear out the other. But for the kids, man, like listen to your parents and have a plan B. Because like we said, rugby league or sports in general is not going to be around forever. You can find a plan B while you're playing, in the sense, but you got to be lucky enough to get into that vehicle first, and but probably 1% are actually, or couple of 2 or 3% are actually going to be able to make that vehicle out of your group of friends.
I'd probably even go as far to say plan B, C, D, E,
exactly.
F, G,
100%. And I watched this thing of a guy I played with, YKTR, and he says about having multiple streams to become a millionaire, even multiple incomes. Hey,
good old Ice.
Ice. So shout out to Ice. Having multiple incomes is how all these people become millionaires. You don't just become a millionaire having one salary, unless you're a rugby league player, obviously, or a sports person, right? Or unless you just so happen to get dropped in the middle of being a CEO or something. But if you want to have, build a wealthy income, you got to have all these streams coming in to obviously build your salary, build your income, and become wealthy. So that's the same with life. If you want to get somewhere, have multiple avenues to get to that place. So if one falls, I can go this way. Can go this way. So,
speaking of avenues, I know Dawson spoke on some of your other talents.
Not many, if any.
And so like it would be cool to, especially for our young people out there who are looking at it. We're in this age now where content creation, content. And it's something that you've obviously got a talent for. If you can speak about your experiences in that I guess arena, and working with Sky now and the Warriors, like what's the avenues, well I guess the options or opportunities that are possible for young people?
I think this day and age, like you don't even need to work for Sky or anything to create content. Like you look at YouTube, like you can just upload one video that can take off, and you can be an instant millionaire, right? So the opportunities are endless for kids these days with technology. For me personally, how I fell into it was when I finished school, I worked, played footy for a bit, and then got into construction. So when I went to Australia, my dad was doing construction at the time, and when he said, "Oh, we coming to work?" I said, "Yep, sweet." Keen has like never done construction or building in my life. First week, like happy as Larry just to be out and about, banging some hammers around, carrying some gear. And then like as the weeks, as the months, as the years went by, I was just like, man, is this really what my life is made for? Like, I think for Pacific Islanders and Māoris, we get put into doing like the heavy lifting, the labouring stuff. You know, we get put into like that category of construction workers. But why can't we be CEOs? Why can't we be site foremen and whatnot?
Exactly.
It's because we're never taught as when we're young to strive for something like that big. So for me, when I finally realised when I come back to New Zealand, I pretty much organised a job in construction when I had come back, so that when I came back, I got straight into work. I got put as the site foreman for this company over the shore. We were doing retirement homes, this retirement building, and I would literally go to work, and I wasn't allowed to leave my office. So I'd go into all the meetings with all these like bilingual people, and I'd be the only brown person there. Like going to work, I have like hoodies and stuff on, like, you know, just how we dress. These guys come into like these meetings with business suits and stuff. You know, for me personally, I didn't really care. I was just like, bro, you can think whatever you want. I'm still in the position I'm in. And I used to go out and help. Like, so the workers that we had for our company were like older island men. And like this is their only income, and I know that they're the only workers in their family, and I know that most of them have big families. So I would go out, and to meet timelines, I'd help them do their work. Obviously, being younger, you want to help your elderly. That's just our culture. But when the boss came in and would see me helping them do the work, he was like, I don't want you on the tools. You're meant to be in the offices, making sure that all that stuff, which I did. But I'd also go out and help like these older Tongan men. Got caught like 3 times helping them out. And like for me, it was just like, I'm doing like my job, plus I'm trying to help these guys, and it's like taking its toll on like me enjoying work. So I said to myself, I was like, man, what can I do that I enjoy to actually leave this job and get into? And it just happened, I was into making videos. It was only of my kids. So when we'd go to the parks and stuff, I'd take my drone and camera and stuff and just do little videos and go home and just edit it, muck around. Then I had an opportunity, one of my friends, Selinga, who owns his own clothing company now. Anybody can get it. He had just finished doing his graphic designing course at UB. And I saw it on his Instagram. I was like, oh, do they do like anything else then? He's like, yeah, they do video editing and stuff. So I had like looked into it, and I had told my missus, I said, oh, I'm going to quit work and go to this course. And she was just like, oh yeah, I'll back you in anything you do. Do you have a plan? This is my answer. Yeah, I got a plan. On the side of my
My roadmap.
But little did she know, I had no plan. I just wanted to get out of work. And I went and told my boss, and my boss was like, man, do you want more money? Like, what is it you want? Like, we'll keep you on. I was like, nah, it's not that. It's just I'm not happy at coming to work. So they say, you know, what they say, money can't buy you happiness. But that was the exact thing. I had no passion for the job, and I was only doing it because it was good money, and I was just sitting in the office. So I went and UB studied, got into media, and just I got into Sky through someone I knew that I had played league with. So like everything had a line for me. Like I asked the Warriors if I could come and follow their cameraman around, and they said, yep, come game day, any game day you want, come. You can just follow the dude around. So I got close with him, and then this one time we were filming for them, they go, oh, we're going to do this filming for the Sky producer. The Sky producer came, I had played league, I was real close with him. So I knew him, and then he was the one that put my name forward for this Warriors TV thing, and I got the gig. So like they say, it's who you know sometimes. But again, putting yourself out there was another massive thing for me. And don't be scared to, like, if you got a dream, or if you got like a passion for something, like, you know, don't be scared to go chase it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of people fear like the unknown, or a lot of people fear failure. But you look at most of the successful business people, they've failed multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm successful, but like, you know, reading and coming across stuff, like a lot of people failed at what they do, but they didn't take it as they didn't let it get them down. They used it as a lesson to come back and, you know, make something better of themselves or better of their product or whatever they have. So yeah, for our youth, man, like, it's massive, like, to follow your passion, because like we said, sports is not the only lane that we're good at. We're talented in multiple areas. Acting, you know, we can be CEOs and bosses of companies. Don't let people put us into a box and think that's all we're worth. You know, like, and that's all you're good at, because bro, as good as we are at sports, we're good at other things as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's what me and also here talk about all the time, is that you know, I only just recently became a homeowner, and you were part of that process too, like we were talking about every day. But you know, for some Pacific Islander Māoris, that's not a reality. They think that they only can pay rent. They don't realise that we can all be homeowners, and that's the same for the CEOs. We can all be CEOs, you know. But you know, more of us Pacific Islanders have to be able to navigate their space, you know, so that we set good examples for other people. And you touched on something just then, like with the videography and how you got an opportunity through Rugby League. You know, where do you see this opportunity taking you? Like, where do you see Francis in 5 years? Is it something you want to keep doing with Sky? Is it like
my ultimate thing I want to do is go out on my own. But again, the experience that I'm gaining and the knowledge that I'm gaining from Sky, you can't buy that. So for me, I'm just biding my time. But in 5 years' time, I would like to be that gap between professional sports people, or just people, like successful people, and telling a story to get out to us without having their words mixed and muddled up. Because, you know, bad press is good press these days. You know, like,
for sure.
A lot of negative stuff that gets passed around this, like in sports, is like the main headline. And you wonder why, like, a lot of players or people don't trust the media, like when they do interviews and stuff. So for me personally, I want to be that gap where they can tell a story to me, and I can put it out the way they want it to be told. Without anyone else in between mixing it up, because it will look better in the headlines. You know what I mean? So just being that person they trust to obviously get a story out, or be able to tell a story for them, or be able to help our youth in advice and stuff, without the media turning it into a negative, so to speak. So that's what I want to do, and that's what I also think the direction I'm heading with videography. So yeah, like, that's where I see myself in 5 years, hopefully. Hopefully.
And what about with footy, bro? You ever considered coaching? Going back to the community that way, or?
Like, as you know, I coached last year, the under 14s for Point Chev. And no disrespect to the kids, like, it was sort of my fault as well. Like, I thought I could play and coach at the same time, but not realizing like how much coaches go through. Like, and that's over like a junior team. Imagine like what the senior teams go through. So I was leaving training early just to go to my training, which was obviously the next field over. You know, I thought that I couldn't, like, I felt that I didn't give these boys like the best version of myself. Only because I was still playing at the time. And I do have a massive appreciation for coaches now. Like, it's not an easy job. I always just thought that the coaches just turn up. I don't know what I thought, actually. Just like, coaches just turn up with a paper. Yep, do this. We're doing this, and we're going. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what I thought.
On the line. Coat hangers.
I don't know what I thought. Like, to be honest, but I like the appreciation I have now for any coach. Man, it's huge when you go through an experience like that. But I wouldn't mind. I don't know if I'd like to be a coach. I definitely wouldn't want to be a ref. But yeah, coaching. if I could help out a team,
Yeah.
I would love to help out a team without being the coach.
Yeah.
At the moment while playing, I feel like I can help a lot of kids on the field. So yeah, I wouldn't say no,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say yes either.
Nice. And also just wrap it up, we've just got some quick-fire questions for you, bro. Some unprepared ones. We won't judge you on your answers, bro. We're pretty judge-free here. On this podcast. The first one, bro, is Usher or Chris Brown?
Chris Brown.
Yes, good answer.
Really?
When we go to like swag, when we go to, I like Usher though, but old school. I love old school music, but I like Chris Brown too.
Yeah, nice. Who is the greatest basketball player of all time?
Michael Jordan, without a doubt.
Nice.
Don't bring up LeBron James. To me, Michael Jordan, then Kobe. People talk about, like, for me, why I say that is I like their killer instinct. Yeah, LeBron's a team player. Don't get me wrong, I like LeBron. I think he's good, but like no one has that mentality like Jordan. Kobe was the next person. Like you've seen The Last Dance and just how focused he was into being a killer. Like he didn't want to just kill you; he wanted to murder you and bury you. Everything else that can go. And for me, I thrive off like that mentality.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
There might be a different podcast because what I got from The Last Dance is that he needed Dennis Rodman.
Oh, hey.
Just jokes. Like, I love MJ. Bro. Like I love MJ. I think the best thing about The Last Dance was that you forgot how dope Michael Jordan was. Like the full character of Michael Jordan, swag on the field, on the court, swag off the court, and it was good. Like I was those guys 7:30 waiting to watch the next documentary. Like I was hooked, and it was just a good reminder of how good he was. You know, he was like he had a whole aura around him.
100%.
So yeah, I really like that. I agree with Michael Jordan, bro. I agree. Greatest player you've played with that never made NRL, like a hood hero. And like for me personally, like you know, one of my best mates.
I thought you were going to say me.
I was never a shot, but you know, like one of my best mates is Robertson Godfrey.
Yeah.
Bro, he was Junior Warriors when you were there.
Yes.
And bro, he was the next big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, if you watch some of his highlights from
He was
when
mean,
he was
eh?
17 and
Like,
covering up
how much?
adults, Bartercard, bro, massive.
Speed
you know?
kills.
Yeah, he was just, bro, you just couldn't catch him. He just had speed, he had step, skillful. So what about yourself, bro? You would have played with you played with some very talented people.
Yeah,
Who was one of the greatest players? Well, it could be a couple, bro.
Yeah, I got a couple that come to mind straight off the bat. My first one, playing with him since I was young and growing up through the grades, is a guy named Nuval Tucker.
Oh, I remember Nuval. I played with Sione.
Yeah, Sione's little brother.
Yeah.
But if we could talk about, like, this kid had abs in school, primary. No lies. Like, had abs in primary, and it was funny. A little funny story about me and him is we grew up and we went to Greyland Primary, and we were in the cloak bays where you hang your bags up, and everyone knew he had abs, and he loved to show his abs off.
Yeah.
And we were in there, and we were talking, and we were like, show us your abs, and he showed us this type of shit, and let me punch it, and he's like, yeah, go on. Wow, I took the biggest swing, boom, hooked him, and then I was like, he paused for a bit, and he was like, oh me, is that all? And then kept walking, and I was like, oh. But talent-wise, man, like, this
Powerful,
kid
man.
would come to, like, he was one of the only dudes I know that the coach said you can drink before a GF.
Yeah.
I didn't play in that GF, but story goes that even when we were growing up, some of our games, under 16s, he would come to the game drunk and just kill it. Like, just be, like, a level above the rest. Got into, Richmond, I think they were Shaman, and coach was going around and was like, everyone have a good night's rest tonight, everyone, and then, except for you, Nival, you keep doing what you're doing, you can come to the game drunk. Came to the game, scored 4 tries in the GF.
Yeah.
Like, just that kind of player. Wasn't the biggest dude, but powerful, and just ran straight all the time. Like, I don't know how he does it, fit, and but obviously he didn't carry on to the NRL. Another one that close with is Rusty Bristow.
Bristow. It's the man, bro.
Played 20s with him.
What school did he go to? What school?
He had a little dab at Kelston. A centre. Close with him in the 20s, and I'm still close with him to this day. For kid, he played always older grades.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how young he was, but in the 20s, killed it, but just never progressed on to NRL.
Yeah.
Was a talent, man, a real good talent, and everyone knew who he was from Rewa, and everyone knew of this kid, Rusty Bristow, with the long hair.
Yeah. I remember Bristow when he came to Custom, man, just 10 levels above everyone, and not just biggest and fastest, but he was also probably the smartest player.
Yeah, he was pretty smart.
He was a ball player, like he could pass both ways. He'll try to utilise his team. He probably learned that at Custom.
If we're talking about smarts, we're only talking about league smarts, because in real life you're not smart.
Yeah, no, I just remember Bristow, bro. He was just a level above everyone.
Yeah.
And I remember Chili telling me stories about Bristow, saying that one thing he had over everyone was just mental toughness.
Yeah.
At training, when they come, Chili said he would push him to the limits, and you would know what Chili's trainings are like. Eh?
Oh, but a funny story as well. So every Saturday we used to have training with the first grade at this place called Glover Park. It's right at the end of St. Heliers. Going up to Ladies Bay, there's this park there. Go into this park and it's like all flat, but there's all hills around it. And we'd meet there like 7 in the morning. So under 20s and first grade all meet there, park in the car park. Everyone does the warm up and we all train together. But Rusty, a couple of times, Rusty would come straight from the nightclubs. No lies, like he would be drinking going out all night, drinking. Pre-season, he would come to training on the Saturday morning, like literally in his clubbing gears, get out of his car, get changed into his training gear, stink like alcohol, and he'd be in the front of all the training, like with the NRL, like in front of some of the NRL boys too. So like, that's when we talk about mental toughness. Like this kid had it in spades, man. And if someone was destined for NRL, this kid, he was mean, man. And that's the type of person like he was, like nothing fazed him. Just rock up drunk or whatever, still train and still kill it.
Nice.
So, those two for me like went stand up when we talk about talent that never carried on to NRL.
Nice. And I suppose the last question also is the league player, up and coming league player to watch out for.
Oh, good question. I've watched a couple of this kid's games, but my brother-in-law like raps this kid massively. His name's Cassius Tia. Plays for Mags at the moment. I've watched a few of his games, and I've heard a hell of a lot about him. Real talented, and he's a half. Real talented kid, real knowledgeable kid. But I just hope that he stays on the right path and carries on to greater things. Because from what I've heard and what I've seen, like little glimpses, like I've only watched little bits of him, especially playing tag. I watched him play tag, and it's like he's like a man playing with like kids. He's like well above where he is at the moment. So if you look out for a kid, he plays for Mags, plays for Marist under 16s, I think it is. This kid, everyone calls him Cass, but his name's Cassius Tia.
That's someone to watch for, out for. But that's just as we wrap it up, bro, thank you for your time today, bro. It's been a mean chat. Like I said, bro, personally, your inspiration. I think that your story is awesome. And every time I hear the story, I hear something new that I didn't pick up the first time. So thank you very much for your time, bro. If you guys are free, Walker Park 2:30, come down and watch the pirate ship going for the Fox Championship. But thanks also, I really appreciate your time, bro. And thank you very much,
brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. Like I said, I wasn't doing anything today, so I'm happy to be doing something. Thank you very much for having me on and giving me an opportunity to speak, man. Appreciate it.
I'm back with the vices.